Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session. I'm Kiku from Workana, sitting at home in Kuala Lumpur currently. So, digital transformation has become, of course, one of the hottest topics since the pandemic started. It not only allows businesses to grow and make the most of the shifting habits and trends, in many cases, it's a matter of survival. And it's, of course, deeply related to remote work and finding more efficient ways to get things done. In that regard, we are seeing more and more companies embrace these kinds of innovations. For example, here in Workana, we are seeing more companies rely on us to hire and work with remote talent. This saves them time and money on a monthly basis. Now, additionally, of course, digital transformation is not just about changing a process or using a new cloud tool. It also entails having the right team and mindset. So we'll touch on that today. So today, our guest is Alan, Country General Manager for Malaysia for Carsome Certified. Let me add him to the stream. Alan, hey, how are you?
Hey, as good as well as can be, actually.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. Sounds like you've been busy, right?
Very busy, very busy. Right, you can't
All
believe
right.
the time just to affect change to the pandemic is really crazy. You got to be on your toes 24/7.
Right. Yeah, definitely. All right. So first things first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, your job?
Okay, I'll keep it very short, right? Because I'm actually older than I look, and so that if I go back to the whole history, now I might just take up all Kiku's time. Um, And so I actually ventured into the tech industry about 7, 8 years back when I first joined, about 9, 10 years ago when I first started a business that does online cleaning, right? That gave a bit of exposure. And then after that, I moved on to become the marketing director in Magic, which is the Malaysian Global Innovation and Creativity Center. And of course, that's actually an amazing journey. We had an amazing team at the time, which have left an impact on me in terms of creating the right kind of mindset, the right kind of culture, and how can we bring this on forward so the team can scale tremendously in any environment. That was during 2014, around there. And that also have exposed me to many people globally, right? All the startup founders, amazing people that has, left a print on everything that I'm doing currently, right? And then after that, I went on to become the chief executive officer of GoCar, which is the first car sharing platform in Malaysia. At our peak, we were at about 1,000 plus cars across 7 states in Malaysia. And just before the pandemic hit, we were actually voted the best car sharing platform by Frost and Sullivan. And of course, unfortunately, the pandemic hit, so it really
Right.
affected the sharing part of the business because you need to social distance. Then after that, this year actually, then I was asked to join Carsome by Eric Chen, the founder of Carsome, to basically head their Carsome Certified, which is a platform that enables you to buy a car, to buy it online, and then we have the home delivery services. So it's basically an impact on the digital transformation for the used car industry, right? And when we first started, there was like I think 1, 2 branches. And right now we are scaling up to already to about 5, 6 branches. And on top of that, the team at the time was about 20 something, and now we are like 100 plus of us running
Oh,
around
wow.
making sure, that we are able to service the clientele using the platform and all the technology that we have developed for the business. So yeah, that's the long and short of everything up to today, where to where I am right now.
Right. Okay, great, interesting. So I find it interesting how you mentioned that Gokar and was badly hit uh, with the pandemic. because of the sharing bit of the business, right? And of course, social distancing and all of that makes that quite complicated. Right. Now, on the other hand, the used car market is still hot as ever, right? And that's where platforms such as Cars Certified make a lot of sense. So you joined right in the middle of the pandemic, meaning to a business already growing and already with some months of pandemic experiences on their shoulders, right? How did you, what was that like joining? So from 2 points of view, as a business leader, right, having to work with a new team, new business model, new everything, with this uncertain context, and as an individual joining a new team, right, also onboarding and all of that is quite unique these times. Can you share a little bit of your experiences with that?
I think that the pandemic last year, right, that was the start of everything. So which means the learning curve is very, very high and very sharp. So I think that has helped me a lot because it gave me a lot of experience when it comes to managing the sudden turns of directions from the government and the sudden behavioral change when it comes to customers and what do we look out for when we want to maintain that sort of growth and also the business revenue from all our customers, right? What's the pitfall that we can look at? What's the advantage that we can leverage in order to make sure that we're still top of mind when it comes to the customers and the products and all the values. And then when it comes to the team, and when the team can see that there was a clear direction of what's going to happen, whether it's during pandemic, before pandemic, after pandemic, I think that's very easy to get everyone aligned. So it was a leverage on over communication, right, with the new team to make sure that we are on a constant touch point, constant communication, so that we know that every time that there's a pivot or there's a pitfall that we need to look out for, everyone is well informed. Because at this environment right now, it's very fast paced, right? It's not about just building the business. It's also about keeping an eye out for what the pandemic is going to happen next. The daily trends and all this kind of stuff. So which means that the communication level with your team, the mindset and the culture that you have implemented, right, it has to be very, very strong in order to cater to these sudden turns or curveballs coming 24/7. Yeah, so
Right.
I think the current situation is right now, and we have implemented a lot of layers that allow us to build it on top of the foundation that we have laid the past few months.
Okay, all right, really interesting. So you mentioned a couple of things that I agree are crucial, have always been crucial, but now that we are not seeing the whole team, the office every day, and those kinds of things are more important than ever. So the first one is direction, right? Even if someone is working from home and we are not seeing that person every day, everybody needs to be aware and on board with the direction in which the business is going. And then you mentioned something that it's also great, that it's over communication, right? So touching on that and related to digital transformation. So of course, digital transformation, I would believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that lies at the very core of what you do, since you've been working for so long in tech, and also the very nature of the business model is digital, right? So of course there's a non-digital bit, because at the end of the day it's a car, so you do need to take the car home and all of that, but it has a huge digital aspect. So setting the right direction, so the team is rowing in the same direction, over communication, your business model. How is all of this tied to digital transformation?
So as everyone understands, right, digital transformation is not just about going digital, which a lot of people seem to assume. And
Right.
we must understand that digital transformation has to have a few factors in place before you actually can roll out what we call the digital transformation, which is one, the infrastructure must be ready, right? Which means that from front end to back end, the infrastructure must be ready in order to enhance the digital experience for all our customers. The key digital transformation is always how can we create more value for the people using our products. And to implement it, then like say infrastructure is one. The second one is what we call the senior management. That means the top level management must be aligned in terms of carrying out digital transformation projects, processes, and so on and so forth. Any blockages there is just not going to work. The second one is to bring in the knowledge transfer, so that you need to have the right kind of people in place in order to basically implement all the digital processes that we want to make the business work, right? Then after that comes what we call the team. If you don't have a team, then if you have a team that is not aligned in terms of digital transformation, then is when all the bottlenecks happen, because you will tell them to implement certain projects, and then they'll go like, why should I do this? They always seem to be working for me, and then without knowing, they are creating bottlenecks for you. The last one is not the least important. It's just that the last one, I hardly talk about it because it's pretty logical, common sense, in resources, right? You need a lot of resources to implement digital transformation for a company that is not built on the digital platform, right? So I'm talking about businesses, SMEs, or the more brick and mortar business that is moving into the digital platform right now. So for us, it's a bit, from the get-go, we already have a tech layer. So it's not really that much of trouble. But the key component has always been the people, right? Having infrastructure, having resources, having knowledge transfer, it's not going to work if you don't have the right people in place.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny, that's something that's so easily, it's on one hand it seems obvious, but it's so commonly overlooked. And as you were saying, I loved what you said about digital transformation not being just going digital, right? It's not, if you're a brick and mortar business, it's not like, well, you go to Shopify and build a store, now you're a digital company. It doesn't work like that. That's just one of the steps. You are doing, meetings in a conference room. Now you're doing them over Zoom. That's just one of the steps. It doesn't mean that now you're a digital company. But more often than not, just the tools or the infrastructure, as you were saying, is the only thing that's mentioned. To go digital, to embrace the cloud, to embrace these telecommunication, video conferencing tools, and that's it. But then, as you were saying, the people, the actual people implementing this, and the cultural shift it entails, is a key aspect.
Correct.
Right. So you mentioned growing the team a lot, basically, right? Going from 20-something to 100 plus. How quick is that team growth happening? In terms, are we talking over the course of 1 year, 6 months?
Oh, I've been here less than 6-7 months. So we're talking about within 6 months, we're already scaling up that fast.
Right.
So that's how fast it took for us to grow, and we are still growing, right? Because of the kind of business that we're running.
Okay, so and let's go into that. It's a key aspect, I think. So you're growing the team exponentially while still in the pandemic. Yes, some restrictions are perhaps lifted, but for the most part, right, we're still in the middle of the pandemic. Do you have in place, maybe you can just mention just one or two, and given your past experience as a business leader, it's not the first time you're growing a team, you're hiring people and onboarding people, right? So what would you say is one big difference between how you would hire and onboard someone, say 3 or 4 years ago, and how you're doing it now, considering all of these digital aspects the pandemic brought about?
So that's pretty easy in the sense that when we hire right now, we actually look very, very carefully and in depth into the mindset and also the personality, and also, of course, the experience that the person brings with them, right? And why those first two is very important, especially for the mindset and personality, is because that whatever is it, we are in the service industry, right? And also we must understand that we are also in the used car industry, which is an existing industry, right? All we also did right now is that we put a tech layer on top, which changes the entire game. So this means also that the people that we bring into the business must also understand that we are a tech business. So that way, having all this alignment happening would then make this person very, very, attractive to the people that I recruit for my team, because then they understand, what are we trying to do, right? And how are we going to change it using the tools and knowledge that we have. And then, of course, having the right personality and also the right attitude will allow us to provide better services to our customers. So this is what I look into right now. It's not just based on experience anymore. And the exposure to tech is very, very important, because if not, you will never be able to understand why we want to, change certain processes. Why do we need to have data points at so many touch points, that sort of things, because some people who have not exposed to the tech industry, they'll think that, wow, why you're tracking so many things. They will not understand the nuances of it.
Right, right. Okay, now you just mentioned something really interesting. In a sense, you're valuing this tech exposure and the mindset about how the business is a tech business over experience, for example. And correct me if I'm wrong, I would presume that it's even far more removed from academic studies and that kind of thing. Is it in
Yeah, you're not wrong, right? Because it is right now. It's based on a lot of the world is changing so fast, right? How people used to be in understanding tech is very different from the people now understanding tech. And if you want to hire, let's say, an amazing data analyst, you don't even need someone that have a degree of doing the the analysis, right? Someone that has already gone through myriads of startups, understand how the business works, and they become very good at it. Because a lot of things that we are doing right now actually can be picked up via certain experience, or even via online. There's how many coders out there that have not graduated from any uni, and yet they are one of the most amazing coders, in some of the startups right now. So I think it's very important the kind of experience they've gone through, the kind of exposure they have to the tech industry, and understanding how the industry works. That will be in combination, of course, with a few more things that will make them, really price among all the tech startups right now.
Right. Okay, great. And of course, you also mentioned that making sure there's this fit in terms of mindset, that helps not only ensuring the newcomer properly fits and is productive within the team. It also keeps on helping the team being cohesive, right, and sharing that broad mindset. Now, going to some practical day-to-day or week-to-week or month-to-month kinds of activities, considering you are adding all these new people to the team constantly, and that we are still, for the most part, working from home. What kind of tactics do you have for team bonding, for making sure that the communication flows in the right direction, given everybody's just stuck at home, right?
Well, we do a lot of things, right? We have weekly catch-ups easily, and we have a lot of scrum meetings in between, right? Just to make sure that everyone's aligned, because you can't see everyone. We make sure that we have a platform for everyone to work on, and instantly accessible by each layer of the team, right? Because that means you don't have to go through multiple layers to come up to the GM's office or to the marketing office. You basically can reach out directly to everyone across the entire team, quickly and efficiently. And so that you make sure then you have to set up a very clear and transparent sort of format for your team to understand, so that they know that when something is happening, it's been disseminated across the board, so that no one is confused when certain things. Of course, you'll still miss out one or two things, right? But we just make sure, as I mentioned just earlier, right, over communication is definitely key. How do we do it? Of course, there's multiple platforms, multiple ways of tracking the communication channels, the metrics, and all the things that we're looking into, so that we make the team move as one and communicate, in alignment to the vision, to all the goals that we want to track, so that we make sure that week by week what is happening, that sort of things. So it is very important to give that kind of clarity to your team, right? In many ways, it could be via town halls, it could be via a communication platform, it could be, from memos that we keep sending out from the GM's office. so that everyone knows exactly what's happening on the top, at the bottom, and in the middle. So that way, no one is confused that, why is the top doing this, the bottom is doing that.
Right.
Yeah, but when the team grows so big, it's definitely the things that's going to be leaking.
Right. Okay, and you mentioned a couple of things that are worth bringing up again: clarity and transparency, right? I share that. I think that being transparent with as much as possible with the metrics, with the number, making all of that information easily accessible, then it allows for the communication to flow, right? It's not like, hey, I saw this metric is not doing well, hold on, where is that? I don't have access, right? But rather, as possible, make everything readily available. And those in the front lines are actually in the best position to raise a hand and say, whoa, there's something wrong here, or there's an opportunity here, right? So I agree that makes sense. Okay, great. And going back to what you were saying about screening new people joining for the right kind of mindset, for tech exposure, right? And that valuing that over academic achievements or even experience. How do you assess? Because it's, of course, the easy thing about academic achievements, for example, or past experience, is that you can just see it in the CV or LinkedIn profile, right? Oh, this one got a diploma from whatever university. However, tech exposure or savviness, or how friendly or familiar they are with all of this, is far more difficult to assess. How do you go about that?
Well, to add on to that, right, we can't just find everyone that is being exposed to tech. Because to be honest, we are in an existing industry for the used car, right? So there are certain specialized skill sets that we need to hire, which is have to be based solely on experience, like, running a car workshop, or, fixing a car, inspecting a car.
Of course.
Yeah. And then, of course, on top of that, then when we look into sharing, hiring for those that require tech exposure, then it's just a lot of conversations that happen. And you ask, certain questions. We determine that, look, if you're facing this kind of situation, what was your game plan, right? And, what do you understand about a tech startup that you bring up that's very similar to the things they have done, and ask them about their past experience in the previous company they have worked on, and how do they determine certain processes to be implemented, and what kind of pitfalls do they see when they implement certain processes, because that will clearly show, that person definitely has experience across the board in the field that they say they are good at, right? And that's why as hirers, we have to be exposed to many type of processes, verticals, just to understand the right kind of questions to ask all the interviewees when they come in, right?
Right.
And of course, it's all determined by the senior, whether they're senior, juniors, so that, so most of my team around me, especially the GM's office or those that's reporting directly, are also equipped to ask those kind of questions, and to determining the mindset, determining the experience, that sort of things.
Right. Okay, that's great. A colleague of mine used to love hiring growth on marketing people, used to ask about what analytics tool they prefer. Google Analytics, Mixpanel, Kissmetrics, Amplitude, any of those. There was no right or wrong answer, of course, but what he was looking for was some sort of passion. What he wanted to hear was, I prefer Kissmetrics over Mixpanel, just as an example, because A, B, and C, and Mixpanel sucks because of that and that. And that was what he was after. That passion, knowledge first of all, of course, and then passionately defending a certain kind of position, which speaks about how deeply they are exposed to these kinds of technologies, and
but there's a
and
lot
so.
of personal, is that subjective, isn't it? Right, in terms of
Oh
what
yeah.
kind of, yeah.
Oh yeah. That's why, I mean, it's not like there was a right or wrong answer. He wasn't looking for people to choose one over the other. He wanted to see what their process was for choosing one over the other, right?
Exactly.
Maybe he agreed, maybe he didn't, but if there was thought behind that, that was already a great sign. I mean, well, correcting what I just said, actually the only wrong answer was saying, I don't know, it's the same. That right? That they are not the same, and that kind of apathy is what you want to avoid, right? When you ask someone whether they are an iPhone or Android user, if you are screening for that kind of tech preference and savviness, again, maybe I believe there's no right or wrong answer, but you do want them saying, no, I prefer this one because I don't like this and that about the other one, and then it's something present in their minds. I think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, which is true, right? All you want is to understand their thought processes, which is, thanks for reminding me of that. That's also one of the keys that we look into every time when we do all these interviews, questioning, chats, right? We want to understand the thought process they have behind their mind when they execute certain things or they face certain problems. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Have you ever, of course, without naming names, not even if it's in this company or a previous position, but have you ever dealt with a cultural issue in a team in which you're seeing the team going in a certain cultural direction, you feel it's not the right one, or a single individual behaving in a way that's not right fit with the current culture? Have you ever stumbled upon that?
Oh yeah, right. There's a few individuals that we have faced that is very, very fixed in their ways of doing things, which is,
Mm,
to be honest, not wrong, but you cannot lock down your mind in a way that, when people offer you alternative, that you refuse to try because you just assume that you're 100%, 110% right. And we have faced individuals like this where, when we try to explain to them, look, you might be right, I might be wrong, but the idea is to understand, can we work some way to test out the two ideas to see which one works best? But unfortunately, there are people out there which is either they're lazy, stubborn, or really have something what I call the fixed mindset that
mm,
refuse to understand there are better ways of doing things, right? Because trust me,
right.
we cannot improve percent by percent, day by day, right? That means we're not innovating. And if we're not innovating, then how does all these new technology and innovations happen? It's not by miracle. It's because someone is willing to tell us that, hey, you might be wrong. I want to test it out. And then find out that, oh,
Right.
actually, you're right. But fine, at least now I know it's 100%, it has to be done that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's that.
get all these
It.
people out of the system.
It's that disruption, right?
And they might
That's
become a
what
risk.
create. Right. Right. What creates this innovation? What you're saying is great because particularly with the pandemic, whatever used to work needs to be revised, right? I mean, yes, maybe it still is the best way to keep on doing that thing, but so many things changed overnight that it's, in a sense, it's safer to say, I don't know, and give it a try. I give a new way a try, as we're saying.
Exactly. We have to really, I know it's niche to say this, right? Every time keep telling people to think out of the box, think out of the box. But we have to. If we don't push the boundaries, right? It's just a matter of time people just set our boundaries for us and tell us that this is how it should work. And then after
Right.
that, I feel like your creativity and all these things will just die. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 definitely. And circling back to digital transformation, that's what all of this is about. New ways of doing things, and it's not just new for the sake of new. It's because they are more efficient, they are more safe, perhaps they are more in line with the current developed habits. E-commerce in general, right? Has boomed, of course, because you can't, or it's far harder to go to an actual store right now, um, and that's unavoidable on one hand. It is safer, and it's also far more efficient from many points of view. So embracing the tools and mindsets that allow you to make the most of those habits, those trends, um, to say the least, it's good for business.
Correct. Right. Because it allows you to be, really, really flexible about things. And that,
Right.
that you're not really mold into these things that, oh, I can't fit into this hole, so I have to find a hole that fit me. Right?
Right.
It's not
Right.
at this days and age, right? Because the business and user behavior, the business trend, it just always keep changing. And if we slow down anything that we're doing right now, then it's already, it put us in the stage that we might not be able to catch up. So that's why we always must be on a constant go, fixing the train as the train is moving. That's the
Right.
best way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Really interesting. Okay, so you did mention you keep on hiring, right? Already grew 4 or 5x in the past few months, and still hiring. I would presume across many different kinds of positions.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it's also serious, right? Because as we find and we grow bigger, there are many types of verticals that we need to break it apart. And then once we break it apart, we need to put it back together, and then you will have a new position to take care of something that we put it back together.
Right. Okay, really interesting. Okay, great. So considering that you've, on one hand, not only now with CARSAM certified, but since years before, you've had plenty of experience growing teams, hiring people, onboarding them, training them, either you yourself directly or your teams doing so, and that you keep on doing so now and throughout the next few months, I guess, while in the middle of the pandemic, while, as you were saying, screening for the right kind of mindset with the this is a tech company kind of mindset coming first. What's some advice you would give to other business leaders out there in the process of growing their business, in the process of hiring, amidst this kind of context?
From the hirer perspective, right, which is the company and also the team that's hiring, then we must make sure that if we are to demand something from anyone, or to the newcomers or people joining the team, make sure that your metrics, your alignment, your transparency, and your clarity are all in place, right? Because this is a really good leverage to tell people that, look, this is all the things I want to achieve. This is how I want to do it. Are you aligned with me? If yes, more than happy to hire you. And you know that the kind of sacrifice that we have to make in order to grow the business stronger and stronger. These are the things that we are doing, and these are things that we have to do more, right? So when you're able to open your book like that to anyone that's coming into the business or joining the team, then they know that, hey, I have full clarity, I have full transparency, what this company wants to achieve, what is their goals, and what I need to do, and the kind of sacrifice that I might have to make in order to help the entire team to achieve the goals, then yes, I'm in for it, right? It's basically running a sports team, right? You
Right.
just come in, he might be a basketball player, and tell them that I want you to score the goal for me when you're playing soccer. It doesn't make sense, right? So on the hiring perspective, this is what we need to do. Then on people who's joining the team, you must, make sure that, this is the company and the kind of values, the kind of product that you can stand, behind, that you understand that I'm going to sacrifice a lot to help to push the vision of this company, help to push the product out to the people that, that I know that will benefit from all these kind of products. So this is the kind of mindset that we have to develop. And knowing that when you join a tech startup, you know that you have to be a very, very flexible in a way that you have to be resourceful, you have to be able to pivot immediately and understand that you're not just hiring to do one job. You're hired to basically, how can you contribute to the team so that the team can do its job, right? It's a really team effort already. It's not an individual performance. So that's the part that we have to wrap your mind around when you want to join a company such as for like a tech company. And I think it might work true for any other company as well, but I'm just speaking from experience based on the companies that I work in, which is mostly all tech, right?
Right. I think that's great. I love those concepts, and in a way, it's the two faces of the same coin, right? From the hirer perspective, from the employer, it's a matter of, as you were saying, being transparent, showing what we want to achieve, not the opposite of a black box, right? Saying these are the challenges we have and presenting all of that. And on the other, and from the potential employee point of view, well, inquiring about that and making sure they are aligned with that they will be able to give their best. So it goes into, it serves the same purpose of ensuring that they can give their best, that the team can grow, that the individual can grow as well, right?
Yeah, correct. That's why I always emphasize on the word sacrifice, right? I always tell the people who are joining my team, I really expect a lot of sacrifices to make things work. So you
Right.
you got to be in a position to understand the kind of drive that we have, the kind of mindset that we have in the team, and if you are willing to join this kind of team, then then you will be expected to perform at that level as well. Because to share an experience, right? We actually had a guy in my previous company where he joined us and he told us about. He said, "Yes, I'm all for it. I like the kind of growth. I like the kind of winning mindset." And after 3 months working with us, then he came and resigned. And when my right hand person asked him, "Why do you want to resign?" He said that I didn't expect you all to be in such an alpha mode, 24/7, right? And I cannot keep up. Then my right hand person say that then so isn't that good, right? Because you're working among alphas, that means you are learning from alphas. Whereas that if you're working with sheep, then you're going to be learning to become a working sheep. Then the person actually replied back, "I'd rather be an alpha among sheep." So
Wow.
I have nothing to say to that. Really, I have nothing to say to that. Everyone has that. No right or wrong. If you're happy doing that, please, by all means. But understand
Of course.
when you join a company that is, when it's always on.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Great. Alan, this was a great session. Thank you so much. Many great insights, and these closing thoughts, in a sense, also amazing. So thank you so much for your time.
So thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it. Also.
Right. Let's. Yeah, no, it happens. We'll be in touch, all right? Hopefully, we can meet for lunch or something soon.
Hopefully, right. I'm also tired of the video calls and phone walls.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And everybody watching, thank you so much. Stay tuned. We'll have more of these coming soon. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.